Eating healthy while also trying to eat out or dine out can be really challenging, with restaurant menu items averaging 1,000 plus calories per portion and having limited options for things like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. No wonder it's really, really hard to try and figure out how to be healthy and also how to eat out. So if you're trying to figure out how to eat healthy while also trying to eat out, then you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to break down a little bit of a foundation, right? What is a healthy diet? Then we're going to look at the current research as far as the average nutrient content for different restaurant dishes and different nutrients. Then we're going to look at 6 strategies that are going to help you navigate going out to eat and dining out while also trying to maintain your health and fitness goals. So stay tuned. Let's start with a little bit of foundation and background knowledge here. Let's talk about what is a healthy diet. This will give us a good comparison or some contrast to when we're looking at actual restaurant menu items and saying, hey, that's high in that nutrient or low in that nutrient. So you can make that decision at that point. So a healthy diet is essentially a diet that provides all of the essential nutrients that you need. These nutrients include calories, your macronutrients, so your protein, your fats, and your carbs, your micronutrients, so your vitamins and your minerals, fiber, and antioxidants. Those are all the nutrients that we need to make sure that we're getting in our diet. By consuming foods from the 5 food groups, so your lean proteins, your low-fat dairies, your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, you can ensure that you're meeting those nutrient requirements. In addition, a healthy diet should limit nutrients coming from calories, sodium, added sugar, and saturated fat. With those two, right, what needs to be in the diet and what needs to be limited in the diet can compose an overall healthy diet. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what the averages for restaurant menus, calories, sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar looks like. This will give us kind of an eye-opening event into why it's really hard to try and dine out at restaurants and try and stay, healthy. On average, restaurant menu items are too high in calories, saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar. They also are lacking in providing or serving portions of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, which oftentimes leads to nutrient deficiencies, right? The idea that we're not getting enough of a nutrient. Restaurant menu items are providing too much of what we already get too much of, and also don't provide enough of what we need to be getting in our diet. So our vitamins, our minerals, our fiber, our antioxidants. Let's break that down a little bit and let's run through these really quickly. So for calories, the average calorie content of restaurant meals was around 1,200 calories. The average sodium content of restaurant menu items was about 1,751 milligrams. The average saturated fat content of restaurant meals or menu items was roughly about 16 grams per serving. And the average added sugar intake was a little bit harder to calculate, but I did find one piece of research that indicated a kid's meal averaged around 25 grams of sugar. So let's dive into that and look at what that actually means and look at each of those nutrients specifically. Starting with calories. The average calorie content of a restaurant menu item was roughly around 1,200 calories, plus or minus maybe 200 to 300 calories. That is simply too much. When we look at the average American diet, or what would be considered the dietary guidelines for Americans, the recommendation is somewhere in between 2,000 calories and 2,500 calories. If one meal is almost half, if not more than half of what we need per day, we can imagine that that's probably going to be too many calories. One study published in the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics showed that 92% of the meals that were provided the typical eater more calories than what they needed. And this was based off of a rough estimation of roughly 570 calories per meal. So 92% of the meals looked at in this study were more than 570 calories per serving or per portion. So we can clearly see that calories are too high as an average in restaurant menu items. Let's go ahead and dive into sodium at this point. So a study published in the Journal of American Medical Association showed that fast food meals averaged around 1,751 milligrams of sodium, and 20% had greater than 2,300 milligrams of sodium. As a reminder, diet-specific people or populations that might need to be on a low sodium diet need roughly around 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. Your average individual can consume somewhere closer to 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. The fact that the average sodium content of a restaurant or menu item was 1,751 milligrams, more than what would be kind of a diet specific recommendation, and almost 80% of what would be recommended for the average population. So clearly, one portion of restaurant or fast food items, menu items, is simply too high in sodium. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into saturated fat at this point. The same study that looked at the sodium intake that was published in JAMA showed that the average saturated fat content of restaurant menus and fast food menu items was roughly 16 grams, 83% of that daily value. So it's with one meal, you're wiping out 83% of your allotted saturated fat per day. Remember, the recommended daily allowance for saturated fat is somewhere in the range of 10% of your calories or less. So if you're eating 2,000 calories per day, that means less than 200 calories should be coming from saturated fat. Okay, finally on our list here, let's go ahead and dive into added sugar. The average added sugar, like I mentioned earlier, was hard to find because of the high added sugar content in sugary beverages like soda. The total sugar content of a meal would have a ton of variability depending on if someone had a soda with that meal or not. One study that looked at the average kids meal from fast food restaurants had about 25 grams of added sugar. This is more than or right at the amount that is recommended or suggested by the World Health Organization. So we can see that, right, one meal, and it's just a kid's meal in this case, is already meeting the daily requirement for your total daily added sugar intake. That's just being met through one meal. Probably going to be too much added sugar that we're consuming. You might have gotten to this point and wondering, is it even possible to eat out and be healthy? The answer is yes, but there are some things that we have to do in place first. So based on the research that we looked at, I mean, you're essentially making yourself super vulnerable or more likely to overconsume calories, overconsume sodium, saturated fat, added sugar. And also, you're probably going to limit yourself in food choices and not have a ton of options for fruits, vegetables, or whole grains. So you're going to have this approach. You're going to be very susceptible when going out to eat of overconsuming the nutrients that we need to be consuming less of, and then underconsuming the nutrients that we actually need to be consuming more of. So to eat healthy while also eating out, you must have a plan to lower the intake of calories, saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar. You must also find a way for you to include more fruits, whole grains, and vegetables into those meals when you go out to eat. So here are my 6 strategies for going out to eat and still staying on your health goals. Let's run through the strategies and then we'll go into each. So have a plan is number 1. Watch your portions is number 2. Lower your fat intake in general is number 3. Add more fruits and vegetables to each meal is going to be number 4. Pick your drinks wisely is going to be number 5. And ask for modifications is going to be number 6. So let's go ahead and dive into each. So the first one, have a plan. When you go out to eat, know the venue. Have a plan for your meal beforehand. Consider what the options are. Look at the menu online. Maybe you already have your order planned out. I would also suggest avoid going to a restaurant and being overly hungry. So this would probably look like avoiding the situation where you are, you skip lunch because you know you're going out to dinner. No, you're going to want to have lunch and maybe even a little bit of a snack before you go out to dinner, because that's going to help you make a better decision when you actually arrive at the restaurant. Everyone knows making a decision hungry is really hard. And then my final suggestion here for having a plan is, I'm a big proponent of self-monitoring. So tracking your calories and tracking your food and seeing how that fits into your day and being able to organize that and say, cool, here's what I have here. And then on dinner, I might go over calories a little bit, but the rest of my week looks pretty good. I might not go over my calories this week. So you can start to tinker with, plugging in, hey, if I have this restaurant menu item, this is what it does to my nutritional values over the course of this day. And then you can kind of stretch that out and look at, what does this do to my week, and so on and so forth. So you can have a little bit better of an idea of what the impact and what your plan might look like. Let's look at the second strategy, which is watch your portions. So watching your portions is a critical component when going out to eat. Restaurants are notorious for offering way too big of portions, and that's probably where a lot of these higher calories, higher saturated fat, higher sodium, all are coming from, is the sheer fact that the portion size is enormous. So managing portion size right out of the get-go can be a really powerful tool. When you're thinking about managing portion sizes, a few things that I like to suggest is requesting a half order would be number one. Maybe they don't have that on the menu, so you can ask to order off the lunch menu in that case. If those two aren't options, I think the next best fit for you is to immediately order a to-go box and just cut the meal in half and put half of it in a to-go box. And that way you've cut the portion size in half, which is probably going to resemble a more average meal as far as calories and the other nutrients are concerned. Another option for watching your portion size is consider sharing your meal as the second component of watching your portion size. And the final recommendation here for watching your portion size is let's just avoid all you can eat situations, buffets, as they are just going to be more prone to that overconsumption piece of calories and all the other nutrients we mentioned before. Let's go ahead and start talking about the third strategy, which is going to be lowering your fats in your meals. So opt for meals that are prepared through cooking techniques like broiling, poaching, grilling, baking, steaming to reduce the overall fat content instead of orders that are going to be like deep fried or fried. That's just going to lower your overall fat content just from the cooking technique itself. Another tip here might be limit your breaded options and the creamy sauce options and opt for non-breaded and vegetable-based sauces. Request condiments and dressings on the side, and that way you can portion control yourself on your end rather than the unknown variable of them dressing it themselves. Order sandwiches without all the higher fat toppings. So, your cheese, your bacon, your avocado. Instead of opting for all of those, maybe you just choose one or the lower fat option of those three for your sandwiches, and also stack up your sandwich with lean protein and vegetables. If you do decide to order some dessert, select lower fat options like frozen yogurt or sherbet. Let's look at strategy number 4. So strategy number 4 is adding in more fruits. Opt for extra veggies on your pizza, your sandwich, some vegetables, baked potato, or some fruit. More vegetarian. And then the last piece here, choosing your whole grain pastas, your brown rices versus the white alternatives there. Our fifth strategy here is actually to pick your drinks wisely. There's a few components here, but opt for water, sweetened tea, low-fat milk versus, your sugary drinks like soda. You can even do a diet soda, or you can choose a smaller option as a soda. Just, avoid having the large soda with dinner. That's going to bring down your overall sugar content and calorie content dramatically. Be mindful of the calorie content of different drinks. Some drinks out there, like a large margarita, can have just as many calories and grams of sugar as a full meal. So be mindful of your alcoholic drinks, as they can pack quite a few calories in there as well. For our sixth and final strategy for making sure that you're eating healthy while eating out is going to be, don't be embarrassed to ask for modifications. They are there to provide you with the best possible experience. That's what they're trying to do, even with their food. They're trying to make it taste amazing. It's not like they're out there to hurt us. So at the same point here, don't be afraid to ask for modifications. They are there to help us. So ask for your dressings on the side. Ask for items to be unsalted or cooked differently. Ask for smaller portions, or ask for a heart-healthy menu. Get what you want, because they're there to serve you and take care of you. So some final thoughts here. Dining out in general while trying to be healthy is challenging. It just is. The average menu items are too high in calories, sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar. They don't provide us with enough of the 5 food groups, especially fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. So they're also lacking the nutrients that we might need in our diet as well. I don't necessarily blame restaurant owners for this. They're trying to provide us with the best experience, and that's exactly what they're doing with their food. Oftentimes the high sodium and the high saturated fat, high calories, these foods are delicious. They're an experience. However, they're still not conducive to our long-term health goals. With that being said, Restaurants are there to serve, they're there to help, they're there to provide you with some food. So don't be afraid to ask for accommodations and make sure that your dietary preferences are heard. Really, the key to staying healthy and also being able to dine out is becoming a wiser consumer, knowing, the information that you know now, and asking for what you need when you get to the restaurant. I'm Noah Casella. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm a weight loss coach. If you got something out of this video, I really suggest that you hit that like button so that it helps other people find it too. If you're on a weight loss journey, I recommend that you subscribe to this YouTube channel and you go into the link in the comments below and you sign up for my daily newsletter where I will share a daily nutrition or weight loss tip that will just completely transform or revolutionize how you look at nutrition, health, and weight loss. And finally, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, concerns, or need some follow-up, then please leave a comment down below. I look forward to catching up with you soon.